What is up, YouTube? What is up, fellow fantasy people? And as always, what is up, the Catch fam? You already know what time it is, man. We are rolling into another mock draft today. We've got the second selection overall in a PPR scoring format, 10-team league. We are ready to hop right into this. As always, we've got Thanos as our logo. We've got Thanos on the t-shirt. I am pumped. As always, let's go ahead and rock right into this, man. So, obviously, with that second overall selection, we're going to be targeting a running back. But I would kind of like to play around with the bounce back method, right? So I'm going to go RB receiver, RB receiver, RB receiver, and then probably look to the quarterback and tight end position, and then just fill out the rest of the roster with the best available players. So we will see how this works out for us. If you do enjoy this video or find it entertaining whatsoever, go ahead and smash the like button. You know what to do, guys. And guys, like 94% of our viewers right now are not subscribed, and you guys, or at least a fair amount of you guys, are coming back and watching the video. So hit that subscribe button, baby. You already know what time it is. It is time for the catch in your life, man. We're gonna be pumping out a ton of fantasy content this year, as well as a ton of NFL content. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, or at least consider it. I do kindly ask, and drop some comments down below on what you guys thought of this draft, as well as what type of mock drafts you guys need to see, as it is gearing up for prime fantasy football time. It is almost time to start drafting. So we see Dalvin Cook off the clock, off the board with that first overall selection. So let's hop into it. I mean, how am I going to pass up Christian McCaffrey here, right? I mean, who else could you debate? Alvin Kamara, sure. Derrick Henry, if you're me, sure. I mean, Zeke's here, but whatever. We're picking CMC, right? Absolute steal. No knock on Dalvin Cook, who's going to have an excellent fantasy year as well, but we are very happy with that selection of Christian McCaffrey, baby. And now we see Alvin Kamara off the clock. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying off the clock in this mock draft, off the board. There goes Derrick Henry. I mean, you really can't go wrong. If you get any of these top running backs, they are going to have a fantastic fantasy output. So let's go ahead. I wish I could check a little bit better about when I am selecting next, or at least what number it is. There's probably a way, but I haven't figured that out yet. As we see, Austin Eckler with the 5th selection, followed by that of Ezekiel Elliott. But with this 19th overall selection, like I said, we are going to be targeting a receiver, playing around with this bounce back method to see how we can kind of shore up this roster at the skill position, between receiver and running back, right? So my top guys are going to be Calvin Ridley, as well as DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, and really, any of these top receivers left, but it's very unlikely that Devonte Adams or Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs falls to us. At the same time, relatively unlikely that DeAndre Hopkins is going to fall to us, or a Calvin Ridley, right? But outside of that next tier, DK Metcalf's my top guy there, but I would be happy with the A.J. Brown or Justin Jefferson or even Terry McLaurin, as well as we now see Devonte Adams selected 8th overall in this draft. And that selection of Devonte Adams followed up by that of Jonathan Taylor at the running back position and Travis Kelce at the tight end position. So we've still got Tyreek Hill sitting here, Stephon Diggs, all those top receivers still just sitting here. And man, CeeDee Lamb is starting to become a player that I really want on my fantasy team at the receiver position. But that's possibly someone we could target with that 22nd overall pick, but that doesn't stay true to the bounce back method of drafting. We're not going to go receiver. But nonetheless, we've seen Stephon Diggs taken, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, and Tyreek Hill. So a lot of very good players, and now DeAndre Hopkins is off the board, and let's see, Antonio Gibson's off the board. Najee Harris still available here, Calvin Ridley, and DK Metcalf. So I think nonetheless we're going to end up with a player we really like with that 19th overall selection at the receiver position, but we're definitely going to see a lot of talent off the board. Let's see if there's any updates on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Just listing him as questionable. Yeah, I don't see. Let's see. Coach Andy Reid realized that the injury Edwards-Helaire suffered Friday against Cardinals. Yeah, it doesn't look like a high ankle sprain. We already knew that. But hey, just something to keep on checking. Okay, so we've seen Najee Harris and Calvin Ridley off the board. DK Metcalf is sitting here That is our guy, so let's go ahead and select him at the receiver position. as our wide receiver one. Do you guys like any of these other receivers, A.J. Brown or Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Allen Robinson? Do you guys like any of those guys over DK Metcalf? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, I do think if you're going to take a knock at DK, it is that strength of schedule. I mean, the Seahawks at every position, whether it's quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, they have a very difficult strength of schedule coming up on this season. But I do, I don't necessarily think that's going to affect a guy like DK Metcalf or a guy like Russell Wilson. It certainly will at times, but I think overall their fantasy value is still as high as it should be. So let's go ahead, bounce back to the running back position, right? So Joe Mixon is sitting here, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery. Those are really the top guys I'm looking at. Let's go ahead and pick up that of Joe Mixon, but I would have, you guys already know that I love the selection of David Montgomery. Clyde Edwards-Helaire starting, I mean, we just looked into his injury, right? Someone who is starting to be a little bit scary in terms of fantasy, at least at the, very given moment. But as the regular season draws closer, we'll definitely have a better idea. I would say until we have any real news out of that situation, that just keep drafting him as normal and just keep practicing with him at whatever respective, ranking you have him yourself. So now we see Terry McLaurin off the board, follow that of CeeDee Lamb, probably going to get a large run on receivers to kind of finish up this next tier of receivers, and we'll see probably quite a few running backs taken as well, and I won't be surprised if we see a tight end and or quarterback sprinkled on in there as well. So we know that we are going to be targeting a receiver. So we have quite a while until we select 14 more selections. So we're looking at around pick 39. I would love to secure that of Chris Godwin. I think in the terms of PPR, that would be an excellent player to pair with that of DK Metcalf. We're already very happy at the running back position. We've got Christian McCaffrey as well as Joe Mixon. So we will see how this plays out as we see Allen Robinson and Justin Jefferson off the board. And now Clyde Edwards-Helaire is picked, and now Keenan Allen is selected. So a lot of good talent going off here, and we have yet to see a quarterback selected. If Patrick Mahomes is sitting there at pick 39, and I'm not following any specific strategy, then I am taking Patrick Mahomes all freaking day, man. But with the strategy that we're practicing with, bouncing between receiver and running back, at least for our first 6 selections, we are probably not going to be able to get Patrick Mahomes or anywhere close to him. And there goes Patrick Mahomes off the board with the 30th selection in this mock draft. I mean, pretty killer value. I mean, even in, 10-man leagues, to see Patty Mahomes sitting there at pick 30, I'm telling you, I mean, I feel like I'm saying this every mock draft I do. Come closer to week 1, Patrick Mahomes is going to become a hotter and hotter commodity in the fantasy world. And now we're seeing a little bit of a run on running backs. We've got J.K. Dobbins as well as Chris Carson off the board, and now George Kittle at the tight end position is off the board. David Montgomery still sitting here. Extremely unlikely that he would fall to us at pick 39, and nonetheless, we are going to be targeting a receiver with this selection, but I would be definitely willing, and there goes David Montgomery. I was about to say, I'd be definitely willing to stray away from this entire strategy and just start everything over if David Montgomery's sitting there. That's how much I like David Montgomery as a fantasy player this year. I think he is a fantastic value. If you can get him in a 10-man league in the 4th round, I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. But we still got DeAndre Swift sitting here, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen. I'm still going to be targeting that of Chris Godwin. If he does get selected, then we would look depending on who's available. And there goes Josh Allen, the second quarterback taken in this mock draft. But nonetheless, Chris Godwin is sitting here, and that is our guy that we wanted to go out and get. Going to be a little tough in week 9 at the receiver position, but we'll survive. And there goes Josh Jacobs, the very next guy that I wanted to select. But nonetheless, we should be able to go out and get a guy that we're pretty confident in here. Darrell Henderson is absolutely my top target here. And then to be completely honest, my next target would be that of Kareem Hunt. But we're kind of crossing our fingers right now, hoping that Darrell Henderson falls to us. I think that would be a great value and a fantastic RB3 on this team. I would have loved to get Josh Jacobs, but we will survive either way. So let's go ahead and see who else is sitting here. A lot of good receivers sitting right here. Probably what our guy Carroll is contemplating. He went out and he got Mike Evans, which means we are going to get our guy in Darrell Henderson. And now with, let's see here, we have got quite some time, 15 more selections as Amari Cooper is selected, 15 more selections until we select again. And at that point, we do want to go out and get one more receiver for this roster, and then we will probably look to the quarterback and tight end positions in the next 2 rounds. After that, and then we will just fill out, like I said, the rest of this roster with the best players available, and a majority of those are going to be at the wide receiver as well as the running back position. So we will just keep evaluating how this draft rolls out, baby. Let's see. Brandon Ayuk is off the board, so a lot of good talent is going to go between this selection, or really over these next 14 picks until we pick again. A lot of good receivers, a lot of handcuff values at the running back position. So definitely a lot to monitor here, as we have now seen Deontay Johnson off the board, followed by that of Kyler Murray, and now Travis Etienne and Adam Thielen. So like I said, a lot of good guys left, a lot of good value going off the board. And now we see that of Julio Jones selected. So let's just go ahead. We know we want to target a receiver with this next selection at pick 59. Tyler Lockett would be an incredible steal, as would Cooper Kupp or DJ Moore here. And I'm telling you guys, T. Higgins is starting to look like the receiver that I want to target in that Cincinnati Bengals offense. I think he is probably the most primed for the best season. It's no knock on Jamar Chase, and I mean, we've really only seen significant preseason action, in one game from Jamar Chase. He looked like he was struggling a bit, right? And that's a little scary from a fantasy perspective. So at this point in time, I'm kind of staying away from Jamar Chase, but he has plenty of time to fix, his struggles and everything, and those couple of dropped balls that he had out there, but plenty of time to turn that around. And I certainly do think that the chemistry between that of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can definitely take off this season. So we have seen a lot of good players here: Lamar Jackson, Mike Davis, Dak Prescott, Tyler Lockett, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, as well as Justin Herbert. So we're seeing a little bit of a run at the tight end position as well as the quarterback position, which is where, luckily we're going to be able to go out and get a receiver here and then either select a quarterback or tight end. So let's see here. I mean, obviously my top rated player would be that of Jerry Jeudy here, but I like some of these other guys too, and I do want to actually go out and select T. Higgins to add some depth to the receiver room, and then now we will look to the quarterback position, as I believe there is going to be more depth at the tight end position, and the 8th round here for us to go ahead and select. So Aaron Rodgers is going to be our top target here. No knock on Russell Wilson. He's just got a harder strength of schedule from a fantasy perspective. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers, who just got selected, has a very difficult strength of schedule. But it's more in terms of from a real life football standpoint, right? But nonetheless, let's go out and let's pick up Russell Wilson, because if there's anyone who is going to play extremely well with a difficult strength of schedule, it's probably Russell Wilson. And I still think we can go out and get a good later round QB value as well to kind of help solidify the position. So Kareem Hunt is still sitting here as well. And I mean, really, we could have, kept doing the bounce back method here and went out and got another running back or receiver. And if we were to do that, we definitely would have targeted that of Kareem Hunt, who just got selected up. And, for all the negative buzz around drafting Kareem Hunt in this upcoming fantasy football season, keep in mind he's the RB10 of last year. So someone who I didn't even have ranked in my top 24 running backs, but as we continue to evaluate fantasy football, since my co-host Steven and I put together those running back ranking videos, I've gotten a lot higher on drafting Kareem Hunt, especially when, I'm a very statistical person who looks at the previous year. Really no reason to hate on Kareem Hunt, although he did, kind of he got some of that positive momentum from Nick Chubb being injured and got some of his fantasy value out of those games. But nonetheless, Kareem Hunt, I think, is still going to be heavily utilized whether Nick Chubb is injured or not. So I think he is of great fantasy value, as we've also seen Myles Gaskin, Javonte Williams, Chase Claypool, Kenny Galladay, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham Jr., and James Robinson all off of the board. So with this coming selection, we would like to go ahead and pick up a tight end, as Jerry Jeudy, my favorite receiver in fantasy football, selected, followed by Cortland Sutton, Tom Brady, and Robbie Anderson. But I think we're going to have we have pretty good depth sitting here at the tight end position overall. So let's double check the quarterback position. Looking pretty thin, right? But I think nonetheless, we want to add some depth to the running back position. And I'm giving a shout out to one of our most loyal subscribers, Made for TV underscore, who has been talking about in the comment sections that San Francisco 49ers backfield. And I definitely agree that there's going to be some good value in selecting a guy like Raheem Mostert, So that's going to be our target right in this 79th overall selection. And then we will turn around and get a tight end. And this will just help add some depth to our running backfield, as we feel pretty good about our depth at the receiver position and at the running back position. But never hurts to draft more running backs while you can, because they're going to be able to find receivers all the way through the end of the draft, or at least someone who could present some value, whether you're playing in an 8-man league or a 20-man league. There is somebody who will present some sort of value at the receiver position, right? So let's see who's available here. Really no one, the top projected players who really stands out to us. So let's go ahead. Let's pick up Raheem Mostert, like we said. And really the only other question here is, do we want to reach for a guy like Ronald Jones II, who we really want on this roster, or do we just want to stay true and go on and get a tight end that we like, as we did see Logan Thomas selected right before our selection of Raheem Mostert, and now we see Zach Moss and Deebo Samuel off the board. So Noah Fant has an extremely easy strength of schedule this year. It is ridiculous, man. But Robert Tonyan sitting here, and you guys already know, I am so confident in Robert Tonyan. It's not even funny, right? And I've gotten a little bit of negative buzz around that, and people not agreeing that Robert Tonyan is going to be able to repeat that performance from last year. But I like having a little bit of stock in that Green Bay offense on my fantasy roster. So no knock on Noah Fant, who I think is a great selection as well. But my guy's Robert Tonyan, and I'm sticking with it. And always have conviction in your draft selections. And as long as you do, really nothing else can go wrong unless you just have really, really bad gut instincts. And hey, I might have really, really bad gut instincts. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, you can do all the studying in the world, and you can watch every mock draft on, every YouTube channel out there. And at the end of the day, your guess is as good as mine when it comes to fantasy football, right? It's always, it's called fantasy football for a reason. But nonetheless, we have a blast with it year in and year out. So let's just keep on drafting, man. So a lot of good players off the board after my selection of Robert Tonyan. We see Brandon Cooks, Devonte Smith, Corey Davis really starting to move up in fantasy rankings after some of these preseason performances and showing that chemistry with our young gunslingers, my boy Zach out there, right? And we've got Chenault Jr. off the board, Melvin Gordon, Tyler Boyd, Antonio Brown, and Michael Gallup. But really, Corey Davis is someone I'm heavily targeting now. But you gotta go out and get him. He's a guy that people are realizing is going to be very fantasy relevant, and a guy that people want on their team. So when I was talking about going out and getting some more receivers a little bit later in these rounds, Antonio Brown, Michael Gallup, DJ Chark kind of lead that, as well as Corey Davis lead those late round selections for me. And now we see Michael Thomas off the board, and Marvin Jones as well. So Mike Williams is the guy I'm looking at here. We still have 3 more selections until we pick, but I certainly think he presents the best late round value. And there goes Ronald Jones, right? I said it with my last round. Do we want to hold off at the tight end position and reach for a guy at the running back position that we really want on this roster? like a Ronald Jones the second, as we now see Dallas Goedert and Curtis Samuel all off the board. There's still some pretty valuable running backs sitting here. Damian Harris is still sitting here, Kenyon Drake and Michael Carter. But let's go out and let's add one more receiver that we're very confident in that of Mike Williams, and then we should be able to turn around and select another running back. Really, any of these guys. I mean, Kenyon Drake or Damian Harris, probably being the top two guys. I mean, I do like the value of Michael Carter as we're starting to see that Jets offense actually become relatively fantasy relevant. But I'm going to take a guy who had 10 rushing touchdowns last year, and that of Kenyon Drake, and we will move right along, feeling very confident from top to bottom in this roster. I do really enjoy this kind of bounce back method. I mean, it kind of just ensures a very even roster overall, right? I mean, you're going to have plenty of good skill position players. You might not be as RB heavy, but I mean, still look at the value. I mean, granted, this is a 10-man league, right? But the value at the running back position, we still have Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Darrell Henderson, Kenyon Drake, and Raheem Mostert. I mean, we're pretty loaded at the running back position, and our receivers look very strong overall as well. And we have a great quarterback and tight end. So, I mean, nonetheless, this team might not be lights out by any means or really have anything that stands out. But point being is that it's very even across the board and we feel very confident overall. So Mike Gesicki is my top rated player. If he is available, I'm going to go out and get him alongside Michael Carter and that of Jalen Waddle. I like the value of Nyheim Hines here. So a lot of good players still left. Jalen Hurts is still sitting here. We'd love to go out and add a second quarterback to this roster whom we are confident in. David Johnson sitting here. I mean, the thing with David Johnson is it's just such a gamble. There's so many running backs. He hasn't looked great in preseason, but I mean, Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay are all on that team. Rex Burkhead's on that team. I don't know, man. Like, when you actually break down it's not Michael Carter. He did not play last year. When you actually break down David Johnson's stats from last year, he really wasn't that bad overall from a fantasy perspective, especially where you can draft him right now. But I just think there's such a big question mark around the Texans offense, and there's such a big question mark about that backfield as well that you're taking a bit of a gamble. I mean, I've taken him in some mock drafts, don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, there's going to be a little bit of a gamble there, right? So we have seen here, we've seen a lot of good players go after my selection of Kenyon Drake, Marquise Brown, Jarvis Landry, Joe Burrow, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Hurts, Michael Carter's off the board, James Conner's off the board, Mike Gesicki, A.J. Dillon all off the board, and that Buccaneers defense is also off the board. So Nyheim Hines is kind of the top guy that we're honing in on here. Let's go ahead and check that tight end position as we saw Mike Gesicki get snagged up. Tyler Higbee sitting here. Tyler Higbee is a guy who people, are very high on, but at the same time, people are starting to become a little bit hesitant of him. And I think he's going to have he has a chance to have a great year in that Rams offense. But I mean, I've gone out and taken Robert Tonyan in drafts, and people have told me you should have waited and got a Tyler Higbee, right? But and there goes Tyler Higbee, who I think would have been a great value here. So we are now on the clock. No more chit chat. We got to decide who we want to draft. I mean, in a PPR league, I hands down think Nyheim Hines is the best value here, really adding some good depth at the running back position. And now we're starting to look at the receiver position. We've got 4 receivers on this squad, and we might want to go ahead and go out and get somebody else. But David Johnson is still sitting here looking like a relatively good value overall for where we're going to select him. Let's double check the quarterback position. I mean, my guy Tua is just sitting there. Trevor Lawrence is sitting there as well. So some relatively good late round value at the quarterback position, but let's just take a gamble on that of David Johnson, although Philip Lindsay is also sitting here. Really, as much as I just trashed David Johnson, at least it adds some depth and it gives us a gamble for a handcuff situation. And now we will just kind of target probably that of Trevor Lawrence or Tua here with that final selection to kind of fill out this roster. If one of those two guys does not fall to us, then we would go ahead and target a tight end. I mean, we could also look to the receiver position here. You know, we added some pretty good depth here at the running back position, right? We're relatively deep. And honestly, that was probably, I mean, you could argue not the best strategy because the strongest part of this, this first couple selections is probably the running back position. But nonetheless, it will never hurt you to have a lot of depth at the running back position. So I can tell you that Nelson Aguilar is probably my top target from a receiver standpoint. T.Y. Hilton's kind of an interesting selection here. But I mean, really, we've just seen so much regression, and it's really not a knock whatsoever on, I mean, I love T.Y. Hilton as a player, but definitely that entire Colts offense has a big question mark around it. And I'm actually pretty confident in these receivers that we have on this squad with T. Higgins, Mike Williams, DK Metcalf, and Chris Godwin. So I do think the best selection here is going out and either trying to target that of Tua or Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so a lot of those kind of general late round skill position players off the board: Paris Campbell, Devin Singletary, Phil Lindsay, Elijah Moore, a couple kickers sprinkled in here: James White, Terrell Williams, another kicker, T.Y. Hilton. So a lot of skill position players being taken and some kickers. At this point, we have quite a few auto drafters, but we do want to go ahead and finish out this draft. So Tua was taken, man. So let's just go out. Let's pick up Trevor Lawrence, add a little bit of depth here to the quarterback position to finish out this draft. Some other good selections. It won't even let me see. But let's see. Let's go ahead and target a defense. A lot of good defenses available, man. This seems to happen every time I do a draft with ESPN. I mean, no matter how many teams I draft with, there's always going to be a good defense available, it seems like. So let's pick up the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and then we will see what kicker falls to us. Overall, let's go ahead and crack down this roster while we're waiting. We've got Russell Wilson at the quarterback position, followed up with our final selection outside the kicker and defense of Trevor Lawrence. So we've got a young gunslinger and a veteran to lead the squad, so I'm relatively happy with that. I think they're both going to have good overall fantasy years. At the running back position, we've got the best back in the league, man. We've got Christian McCaffrey. We also have Joe Mixon, Darrell Henderson, Raheem Mostert, Kenyon Drake, Naheem Hines, and David Johnson. So a lot of depth at the running back position. I'm telling you, it will never hurt you to load up at the running back position. At the receiver position, we went out and we got that DK Metcalf, my guy, the guy I'm in love with fantasy wise, right? Chris Godwin also. So we've got two very solid number one receivers. Both parts of very explosive offenses. Anytime Russell Wilson throws a touchdown to DK Metcalf, we're going to benefit from that. But we also have T. Higgins and Mike Williams to give us a little bit of good depth as well, knowing that we were going to be able to flex in a running back week in and week out. At the tight end position, we went out, we got our guy Robert Tonyan, almost secured Tyler Higbee as well, but we did not. Nonetheless, still feeling very confident with my guy Robert Tonyan, right? And then we got a great defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So I think this is a great fantasy roster overall, and we know that one of these kickers is going to fall to us. So as always, I thank you all very much for watching or listening. If you guys found this helpful in any way, or you did find this entertaining in any way, I kindly ask that you go ahead and smash that like button. It truly does help out the channel and give us a little bit of boost in the algorithm. And as always, I kindly ask that you go ahead and subscribe for more future content like this, as well as mine and Steven's annual The Catch podcast. Let's go ahead and grab a kicker, man, and just think about it, man. Over 90% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, and yet a fair amount of you guys are coming back and watching these videos. You know what time it is. It is time for the catch in your life, day in and day out. We're going to be pumping out fantasy content as well as NFL debate, NFL content all year long. So go ahead and subscribe. What are you waiting for, man? And drop some comments down below on what you guys thought of this draft. As always, I thank you all very much for watching and are listening. Shout out to the Catch fam and all of our subscribers. You are truly appreciated. And remember, as always, you saw it here on The Catch.